Hello and welcome to Several Signatures. I'm Brendan. I'll attempt to read through several signatures worth of the following works: Pop Ancient Greek, the Bible, King James Bible, Quran, Canterbury Tales, Sherlock Holmes and Conan, mainly because they're really big and I find it challenging to read these kind of things, so if I do it in this kind of form, maybe I can get through some of them a bit more. But I warn you, there will be a gutful of mistakes on my part. I'm messy, I read messily and go from story to story. This won't be like my other ones on Story Rhyme where I edit them a heap. This will just have all the mistakes in. So sorry about that. I got the idea for this show from character Katie Nolan in the book A Tree Grows in Brooklyn, where she's the mother and she reads. She got it from her mother, Mary, to read a page of Shakespeare and a page of the Bible each night to Katie's daughter, Francie. As the title of the show alludes, this show will cover several signatures from different published literary works. What is a signature? Basically, when you make up a book, one common way of doing it is printing multiple of four on a sheet of paper, 4 pages, and folding them to make up a certain set of pages. So a signature could be 4, 8, 12, 16, 24, 32, or even 64 pages. I'll roughly try to focus on 4 pages worth, but end each reading at hopefully an acceptable pause in the stories. Let's begin. Homer's The Illiad. The story of Achilles. Translated by W.H.D. Rose. This translation was made in 1938, so even that's out of copyright, so it should be okay. Preface. This book, like the story of Odysseus, is a translation into plain English of the plain story of Homer, omitting the embellishments which are meant only to please the ear, stock epithets, and recurring phrases where the meaning is of no account. Epitaphs. I can't pronounce it. Stuff it. Anyway, I'll try not to focus on this stuff too much. Sorry, my pronunciations are always bad. I have to look them up, but I'm just going to try and just go through it, and sorry about all the pronunciation mistakes. Any who wish to know more of this matter will find it in the appendix to the story of Odysseus. Readers who are surprised by the simple and familiar words of this translation will be still more surprised when they find how often Homer's words are the same. Where the phrases are different, that is because the idioms of Greek and English are different, but the tone is the same. Most of Homer is a story naturally told, and the lovely bits of poetry which come here and there can be expressed with equal beauty in our own beautiful language, without the help of artificial expressions, such as twain for two. So also the most moving scenes move us not less but more, when they are described without trying to make them more intense by high-flown expressions. The great critic Longinus, who has preserved for us many lovely pieces of Greek poetry, quotes only one sentence from foreign literature as an example of the grand style. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Such grand and lovely passages come in the midst of common things, just as they do in life, even in the grim work of the battlefield. They are found, and there is nothing more terrible in literature than the simple words of Achilles to Lycaon, which send a shiver down my spine. Lycaon, don't know. Whenever I read them. I noticed in the happy days when we used to read Homer together in Greek, without translating at all, that the general mood of the company was the schoolboys' high spirits, with continual banter and jest. But whenever one of these great things came in, a sudden silence fell. They never failed to feel them, although a schoolboy cannot understand them as a man of wider experience can. Then, just like Homer's own childlike men, they slid back into their normal high spirits and welcomed his touches of merriment. For Homer is full of merriment, full of open fun and delicate comedy, even farce, as when Ares, wounded, bursts up to Olympus like a bomb, and the divine family. What a delightful natural party. Human beings raised a degree or two, but all the funnier for that. They are the comic background to the tragedy below, for the story of Achilles is a tragedy, the fiery conflict of a man divided against himself, who in a few short days drops to the lowest hell of savagery, then rises to self-mastery and inward peace. The last effable scene between him and Priam seems to me Homer's reading of the riddle of human life, purification by suffering, and without one direct word he discloses his faith. He discloses his faith that this is not the end. Life has done all it was meant to do for those two souls, one so young and one so old. They must die now, and they know it. But their future lies in the hand of that awful and supreme power which Homer calls fate, who dwells in the clouds and darkness above Zeus and his court. And if Homer had put into words what he thought, that might have been the same as the Hebrew patriarch said, "Shall not the judge of all the earth do right?" Contents. Preface. Book 1, How Achilles and Agamemnon quarrelled over Briseis, and how Thetis persuaded Zeus to support her son. Book 2, How a dream came with a message from Zeus, and how the Achaeans debated in their camp the names and numbers of the two hosts. Book 3, How Menelaus and Alexandros fought a duel together, and what came of it. Book 4, The first battle between Trojans and Achaeans. I don't know. Book 5, How Diomedes did great deeds of valor and wounded Aphrodite and Ares himself. Book 6, How Paris was brought back into the battle, and how Hector parted from Andromache. I don't know. Book 7, How Aias and Hector fought in single combat, and how the Trojans sent a herald to propose peace. Gee, they're huge titles. Book 8, The battle wavers to and fro. Book 9, How Agamemnon repeated of his violence and sent envoys to Achilles. Book 10, How Diomedes and Odysseus went on a night raid and how they fared. Book 11, How the battle turned and the captains were wounded and Achilles began to take notice. Book 12, How the two armies fought before the wall and how Hector broke down the gate. Book 13, The battle among the ships. Book 14, How Hera deluded Zeus and sent him to sleep, and how, in consequence, the tide of battle turned. Book 15, How Zeus awoke and what he said to Hera, how Hera took his message to the divine family and what they all said to it, and how the two armies fought among the ships. Hoi, how many is there? Oh, it's the last page. Book 16, How Patroclus took the field in the armour of Achilles, his great feats of war and his death. Book 17. How they fought over the body of Patroclus. Book... what was that up to? 16, 17, 18. Book 18. How Achilles received the news and how his mother got him new armour from Hephaestus. Book 19. How Achilles made friends with Agamemnon and armed himself for war. Book 20. How Achilles swept the battlefield and how the gods helped on either side. Book 21. The battle by the river. Book 22. Of the last fight and the death of Hector. Book 23. The funeral rites of Patroclus and how the games were held in his honour. Book 24. How Priam and Achilles met and the funeral of Hector. Pronouncing index. Oh, I'll probably need that a lot. There thou shalt hear and learn the secret power of harmony in tones and numbers hit by voice or hand and various measured verse, Aeolian charms and Dorian lyric odes, and his who gave them breath, but higher sung, blind Melisthenes, thence Homer called, whose poem Phoebus challenged for his own. Milton, Paradise Regained. For page 245. Maybe I'll just read that pronouncing index and call it a day. Pronouncing index. Pronouncing index. This index shows the correct quantities of the vowels in the names, and the accent is placed to suggest how the reader may pronounce them as if English names. C always sounded as k, ch always as j, a, e, I, o, u as in Italian properly, but they may be sounded as in English. Oo as oo for convenience. Vowels marked A with a dash or bar, E with a bar, etc. are of double length. The mark on E with the little cap means that it is not mute but forms a syllable. I don't know. Abantes, a baba e, abas, ableros, abaidos, akamas. How many have we got? Lots and lots of names. I will not remember even 5 of these, let alone all of these nasties. What a name. But hopefully they're going to say this kind of spelling in the main text to give us a bit of a clue. Xanthos, and Zeus. Okay. Well, that's all of the Illiad for this time. And here's the start of Good News Bible. It's had a few editions over the years. This was a free copy off the internet. So yeah, contents. Books of the Bible in alphabetical order. Welcome to the Good News Bible. Where do I begin? What to bear in mind as you read. The main collections of books in the Bible. Timeline. So I'm not going to read through all the intro stuff. I'll just read through the main chunky bits of the Bible. So the Old Testament, New Testament. So what is the Bible? The Bible isn't one book, but a collection of books. These books were written by at different times by different people. They include many types of writing, laws, stories, histories. Telling you about a few. One of the most important things to do when you start reading a different part of the Bible is to ask yourself what kind of writing you think it is. This will help you to understand what you are reading. How are the books ordered? It's important to remember the book is not organized according to the books were written. Basically, it's saying don't read the Bible from start to finish. Find what you need to read, and get the most out of it, kind of thing. But we're gonna just read it from start to finish. Well, that's my attempt. So if you haven't read any bits of the Bible before, it's all kind of broken up like this. It's got like some numbers next to different sections and like all the paragraphs and sentences, and it's all like referenced against itself. Number 6, don't read the Bible from start to finish as you would a novel. We're going to do it. Stuff it. Main collections of the Bible: the Old Testament, law, historical books, poetic books, major prophets, minor prophets. New Testament, 4 Gospels, the Good News spreads, Acts, letters, prophecy. So that's a little bit of fantasy at the end. Timeline. It can often be difficult. Can I center this more? It can be often be difficult to date events or books of the Bible with any certainty. There is a lot of discussion about when the books in the Bible were written. This chart only indicates when the events each book describes may have been set. All dates given are very approximate. Books with question mark after them are hard to place and could be set either earlier or later. So, Genesis, it looks like roughly 4,000 years ago. Exodus, 3,200 years ago-ish. Joshua and Judges, what's that, 3,300 years ago. Samuel, 3,000 years ago. King Solomon, 3,000 years ago. Books of Kings, Chronicles, whatnot. Most of this 3,000-ish, or a little bit less. Kings, Chronicles, Ezekiel, 2,500. Ezra, Malachi, 2,500. The Gospels, 2,000 years ago. Acts, same, 2,000 years ago. Same with the letters. And Revelation. So that doesn't have a date, but I'm guessing the same sort of time. So, to go down to oh no. This is just snippets. Okay, I found another version. It's free. Good News Bible was only like a sample, 30 or so pages. This one's from the bastions of the Roman Empire, Catholic Church, so it's a free one on the internet. So I'll read from that one. It's translated, completed 2009. Its printing includes the latest errata through April of 2010. Yeah, so that'll be after the Illiad. And then after that, might seem overkill, but it would be the reading through the King James version of the Bible. So I hear it's a bit more poetic in its prose. Supposed to be the original version translated into English, or at least the one that's stood the test of time. So that'll be next. So I think it'll be good it'll be a good contrast, but you get the idea of the text from the Catholic version, and then through the King James you get the a little bit more colour. So again, the same things, the Old Testament and then through the New Testament. And then, as a lot of Christians haven't read the Bible, me included, I've only read Genesis, so I thought while we're at it, I'll have a stab at the Quran, English translation, clear, easy to read, modern English, pure, translated by Talal Itani. Allah, there is no God but He, the living, the eternal. He sent down to you the book with the truth, confirming what came before it, and He sent down the Torah and the Gospel. Verses 3 to 3. Quran, translated from Arabic, published by Click Quran, Dallas Baruch. Available in 2 editions. This edition A uses the word Allah to refer to the Creator. Edition B uses the word God. Provided under the terms of the Creative Commons license, attribution, non-commercial, non-derivatives. To contact the translator, phone www.clearquran.com. When you read the Quran, seek refuge with Allah from Satan, the outcast. He has no authority over those who believe and trust in their Lord. His authority is only over those who follow him and those who associate others with him. Verses 1698-100. Chapters, surahs. The opening, the Haifa, bad pronunciation. Family of Imran, women, the table, livestock, the elevation, spoils, repentance, Jonah, Hud, Joseph, thunder, Abraham, the rock, the bee, the night journey, the cave, Mary, Tahar, the prophets, the pilgrimage, the believers, the light, the criterion, the poets, the ant, history, the spider. It's up to chapter 29. Then from 30 to 61, the Romans, Luqman, prostration, the Confederates, Sheba, originator, Yassin, the aligners, Sayad, throngs, forgiver, detailed, consolation, decorations, smoke, kneeling, the dunes, Muhammad, victory, the chambers, Quaff, the spreaders, the mount, the star, the moon, the compassionate, the inevitable, iron, the argument, the mobilization, the women tested, column. Then from chapters 62 to 93, Friday, the hypocrites, gathering, divorce, prohibition, sovereignty, the pen, the reality, ways of ascent, Noah, the jinn, the enwrapped, the enrobed, resurrection, man, the unleashed, the event, the snatchers, he frowned, the rolling, the shattering, the defrauders, the rapture, the constellations, the nightly visitor, the Most High, the overwhelming, the dawn, the land, the sun, the night, morning light. And then the last one's from chapters 94 to 114. The soothing, the fig, clout, decree, clear evidence, the quake, the races, the shocker, abundance, time, the backbiter, the elephant, Koresh, assistance, plenty, the disbelievers, victory, thorns, monotheism, daybreak, mankind. And it starts. Next, Canterbury Tales. There is this version of Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. Alfred W. Pollard did the editing. It seems quite faithful. There's a long intro and how it didn't change much. I just had a quick glance at it just to show you the wording. There's another edition I think I'll use instead, because this one's just a bit too hard for me. Not the best. So he edited 1894. So it's got all the stuff in it. The Knights, Millers, Reef's Tales, Shipmen, Priors, etc. But yeah, if you're trying to read it through, here beginneth the book of the Tales of Canterbury. When that April with his sea shores sooty, I can't pronounce it. The drogater of March hath pursed to the rote, and bathed every vein in switch liquor, of which virtue engendered is the flower, when Zephyrus eke with his sweet breath inspired hath in every holt and heath the tendry crops, and the young son hath in the ram his half course run, and small fowls maken melody, that slepen all the night with open eye, so pricketh him nature in her courages, ta'en longen folk to goon on pilgrimages. So yeah, I'm not good at medieval English. I think it'd be more of a... What's wrong? Huh? It was terrible. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Okay. I'll read the other version. So that's this one. No, that's the one I just had. Whoops. So here's the start of it. Canterbury Tales. Here begins the book of the Tales of Canterbury. When April with his showers sweet with fruit, the drought of March has pierced unto the root, and bathed each vein with liquor that has power to generate therein the sire, the flower. When Zephyr also has, with his sweet breath, quickened again in every holt and heath, the tender shoots and buds, and the young son, into the ram one half his course has run, and many little birds make melody, that sleep through all the night with open eye. So nature pricks them unto ramp and rage, then do folk long to go on pilgrimage, and palmers to go seeking out strange strands, to distant shrines well known in sundry lands, and specially from every shire's end of England they to Canterbury wend. The holy blessed martyr there to seek, who helped them when they lay so ill and weal. Befell that, in that season, on a day, in Southwark at the Tabard, as I lay, ready to start upon my pilgrimage to Canterbury, full of devout homage, there came at nightfall to that hostelry some 29 in a company of sundry persons who had chanced to fall in fellowship, and pilgrims were they all, that toward Canterbury town would ride. The rooms and stables spacious were and wide, and well we there were eased and of the best. And briefly, when the sun had gone to rest, so had I spoken with them, every one, that I was of their fellowship anon, and made agreement that we'd early rise to take the road as you I will apprise. But none the less, whilst I have time and space, before yet farther in this tale I pace, it seems to my accordant with reason to inform you of the state of every one of all of these, as it appeared to me, and who they were, and what was their degree, and even how arrayed there at the inn, and with a knight. Thus will I first begin. So I'll leave it there for this time. But that's the Canterbury Tales. Next up would be Sherlock Holmes stories by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So table of contents, A Study in Scarlet, The Sign of the Four, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, short stories, memoirs, Turn of Sherlock Holmes, then another 2 novels, The Hound of Baskerville, The Valley of Fear, and His Last Bow, The Case Book of Sherlock Holmes, and then it starts Study in Scarlet. And lastly, going through the Conan stories. So I found a list that goes kind of chronologically through the stories. So Gods of the North, the first one, date published 1934. So these go backwards and forwards through time. So next one's 1952, next one's 1933, 1967. So they there's how many is there? 26 all up. I think a lot of them are short stories, but just something fun at the end. So Gods of the North, Robert E. Howard. It's just on the Gutenberg website. So reprinting, originally published in March 1934 in the Fantasy Fan. This e-text was prepared from the reprint in Fantastic Universe, December 1956. Extensive research did not uncover any evidence that the US copyright on this publication was renewed. Publisher's note: the publication of this strange story by Robert E. Howard, author of the Conan stories, so much a part of the living library of fantasy. We will, from time to time, publish material such as this, hitherto known to only a few students of the field. Gods of the North was published in 1934 in Charles D. Hornig's The Fantasy Fan, which had a circulation of under 100. We thank Sam Moskowitz, editor and SF historian, who showed us this story. Let's begin. The clangor of the swords had died away. The shouting of the slaughter was hushed. Silence lay on the red-stained snow. The pale, bleak sun that glittered so blindingly from the ice fields and the snow-covered plains struck sheens of silver from rent corselet and broken blade. Where the dead lay in heaps, the nerveless hand yet gripped the broken hilt. Helmeted heads, back drawn in the death throes, tilted red beards, and golden beards grimly upward, as if in last invocation to Ymir, the frost giant. She drew away from him, dwindling in the witch fire of the skies until she was a figure no bigger than a child. Back to the main text. Across the red drifts and mail-clad forms, two figures approached one another. In that utter desolation, only they moved. The frosty sky was over them, the white, illimitable plain around them, the dead men at their feet. Slowly through the corpses they came, as ghosts might come to a tryst through the shambles of a world. Their shields were gone, their corselets dinted, blood smeared their mail, their swords were red, their horned helmets showed the marks of a fierce strokes. One spoke, he whose locks and beard were red as the blood on the sunlit snow. "Man of the raven locks," he said, "tell me your name, so that my brothers in Vanaheim may know who was the last of Wulfhere's band to fall before the sword of Heimdall." "This is my answer," replied the black-haired warrior. "Not in Vanaheim, but in Valhalla will you tell your brothers the name of Amra of Akbitana." Heimdall roared and sprang, and his sword swung in a mighty arc. Amra staggered, and his vision was filled with red sparks as the blade shivered into bits of blue fire on his helmet. But as he reeled, he thrust with all the power of his great shoulders. The sharp point drove through brass scales and bones and heart, and the red-haired warrior died at Amra's feet. Amra stood, swaying, trailing his sword, a sudden sick weariness assailing him. The glare of the sun on the snow cut his eyes like a knife, and the sky seemed shrunken and strangely far. He turned away from the trampled expanse, where yellow-bearded warriors lay locked with red-haired slayers in the embrace of death. A few steps he took, and the glare of the snowfields was suddenly dimmed. A rushing wave of blindness engulfed him, and he sank down into the snow, supporting himself on one mailed arm, seeking to shake the blindness out of his eyes, as a lion might shake his mane. A silvery laugh cut through his dizziness, and his sight cleared slowly. There was a strangeness about all the landscape that he could not place or define, an unfamiliar tinge to the earth and sky. But he did not think long of this. Before him, swaying like a sapling in the wind, stood a woman. Her body was like ivory, and save for a veil of gossamer, she was naked as the day. Her slender bare feet were whiter than the snow they spurned. She laughed, and her laughter was sweeter than the rippling of silvery fountains, and poisonous with cruel mockery. "Who are you?" demanded the warrior. "What matter?" Her voice was more musical than a silver-stringed harp, but it was edged with cruelty. "Call up your men," he growled, grasping his sword. "Though my strength fail me, yet they shall not take me alive. I see that you are of the Vanir. Have I said so?" He looked again at her unruly locks, which he had thought to be red. Now he saw that they were neither red nor yellow, but a glorious compound of both colours. He gazed spellbound. Her hair was like elfin gold, striking which the sun dazzled him. Her eyes were neither wholly blue nor wholly grey, but of shifting colours and dancing lights and clouds of colours he could not recognize. Her full red lips smiled, and from her slim feet to the blinding crown of her billowy hair Her ivory body was as perfect as the dream of a god. Amra's pulse hammered in his temples. "I cannot tell," he said, "whether you are of Vanaheim and mine enemy, or of Asgard and my friend. Far have I wandered, from Zingara to the sea of Viliet, in Stygia and Cush, and the country of the Hyrcanians. But a woman like you I have never seen. Your locks blind me with their brightness. Not even among the fairest daughters of the Aesir have I seen such hair by Ymir." "Who are you to swear by Ymir?" she mocked. "What know you of the gods of ice and snow, you who have come up from the south to adventure among strangers?" "But the dark gods of my own race," he cried in anger. "Have I been backward in the sword play, stranger or no? This day I have seen 80 warriors fall, and I alone survived the field where Mulhir's reavers met the men of Bragai. Tell me, woman, have you caught the flash of mail across the snow plains, or seen armed men moving upon the ice?" "I have seen the hoar frost glittering in the sun," she answered. "I have heard the wind whispering across the everlasting snows." He shook his head. "Njord should have come up with us before the battle joined. I fear he and his warriors have been ambushed. Wolf here lies dead with all his weapon men. I had thought there was no village within many leagues of this spot, for the war carried us far. But you can have come no greater distance over these snows, naked as you are. Lead me to your tribe, if you are of Asgard, for I am faint with the weariness of strife. My dwelling place is further than you can walk, Amra of Akbitana." She laughed, spreading wide her arms. She swayed before him, her golden head lolling wantonly, her scintillant eyes shadowed beneath long silken lashes. "Am I not beautiful, man? Like dawn running naked on the snows," he muttered, his eyes burning like those of a wolf. "Then why do you not rise and follow me? Who is the strong warrior who falls down before me?" She chanted in maddening mockery, "Lie down and die in the snow with the other fools, Amra of the black hair. You cannot follow where I would lead." With an oath the man heaved himself upon his feet, his blue eyes blazing, his dark, scarred face convulsed. Rage shook his soul, but desire for the taunting figure before him hammered at his temples and drove his wild blood riotously through his veins. Passion fierce as physical agony flooded his whole being, so that earth and sky swam red to his dizzy gaze, and weariness and faintness were swept from him in madness. He spoke no word as he drove at her fingers, hooked like talons. With a shriek of laughter she leapt back and ran, laughing at him over her white shoulder. With a low growl Amra followed. He had forgotten the fight, forgotten the mailed warriors who lay in their blood, forgotten Njord's belated reavers. He had thought only for the slender white shape which seemed to float rather than run before him. Out across the white blinding plain she led him. The trampled red field fell out of sight behind him, but still Amra kept on with the silent tenacity of his race. His mailed feet broke through the frozen crust. He sank deep in the drifts and forged through them by sheer strength. But the girl danced across the snow as light as a feather, floating across a pool. Her naked feet scarcely left their imprint on the hoar frost. In spite of the fire in his veins, the cold bit through the warrior's mail and furs, but the girl in her gossamer veil ran as lightly and as gaily as if she danced through the palms and rose gardens of Poitain. Black curses drooled through the warrior's parched lips. The great veins swirled and throbbed in his temples, and his and his teeth gnashed spasmodically. "You cannot escape me," he roared. "Lead me into a trap, and I'll pile the heads of your kinsmen at your feet. Hide from me, and I'll tear apart the mountains to find you. I'll follow you to hell and beyond hell." Her maddening laughter floated back to him, and foam flew from the warrior's lips. Further and further into the waste she led him, till he saw the wide plains give way to low hills, marching upward in broken ranges. Far to the north he caught a glimpse of towering mountains, blue with the distance, or white with the eternal snows. Above these mountains shone the flaring rays of the borealis. They spread fan-wise into the sky, frosty blades of cold, flaming light, changing in colour, growing and brightening. Above him the skies glowed and crackled with strange lights and gleams. The snow shone weirdly, now frosty blue, now icy crimson, now cold silver. Through a shimmering icy realm of enchantment, Amrah plunged doggedly onward, in a crystalline maze where the only reality was the white body dancing across the glittering snow beyond his reach, ever beyond his reach. Yet he did not wonder at the necromantic strangeness of it all, not even when two gigantic figures rose up to bar his way. The scales of their mail were white with hoar frost, their helmets and their axes were sheathed in ice. Snow sprinkled their locks, in their beards were spikes of icicles. Their eyes were cold as the lights that streamed above them. "Brothers," cried the girl, dancing between them, "look who follows! I have brought you a man for the feasting. Take his heart, that we may lay it smoking on our father's board." The giants answered with roars like the grinding of icebergs on a frozen shore, and heaved up their shining axes as the maddened Akabitanan hurled himself upon them. A frosty blade flashed before his eyes, blinding him with its brightness, and he gave back a terrible stroke that sheared through his foe's thigh. With a groan the victim fell, and at the instant Amrah was dashed into the snow, his left shoulder numb from the blow of the survivor, from which the warrior's mail had barely saved his life. Amrah saw the remaining giant looming above him like a colossus carved of ice, etched against the glowing sky. The axe fell, to sink through the snow and deep into the frozen earth, as Amrah hurled himself aside and leapt to his feet. The giant roared and wrenched the axe head free. But even as he did so, Amrah's sword sang down. The giant's knees bent, and he sank slowly into the snow, which turned crimson with the blood that gushed from his half-severed neck. Amrah wheeled to see the girl standing a short distance away, staring in wide-eyed horror, all mockery gone from her face. He cried out fiercely, and the blood drops flew from his sword as his hand shook in the intensity of his passion. "Call the rest of your brothers," he roared. "Call the dogs. I'll give their hearts to the wolves." With a cry of fright, she turned and fled. She did not laugh now, nor mock him over her shoulder. She ran as for her life, and though he strained every nerve and until his temples were like to burst, and the snow swam red to his gaze. She drew away from him, dwindling in the witch fire of the skies, until she was a figure no bigger than a child, then a dancing white flame on the snow, then a dim blur in the distance. But grinding his teeth until the blood started from his gums, he reeled on, and he saw the blur grow to a dancing white flame, and then she was running less than 100 paces ahead of him, and slowly the space narrowed, foot by foot. She was running with effort now, her golden locks blowing free. He heard the quick panting of her breath, and saw a flash of fear in the look she cast over her alabaster shoulder. The grim endurance of the warrior had served him well. The speed ebbed from her flashing white legs. She reeled in her gait. In his untamed soul flamed up the fires of hell. She had fanned so well. With an inhuman roar, he closed in on her, just as she wheeled with a haunting cry and flung out her arms to fend him off. His sword fell into the snow as he crushed her to him. Her supple body bent backward as she fought with desperate frenzy in his iron arms. Her golden hair blew about his face, blinding him with its sheen. The feel of her slender figure twisting in his mailed arms drove him to blinder madness. His strong fingers sank deep into her smooth flesh, and that flesh was cold as ice. It was as if he embraced not a woman of human flesh and blood, but a woman of flaming ice. She writhed her golden head aside, striving to avoid the savage kisses that bruised her red lips. "You are cold as the snows," he mumbled dazedly. "I will warm you with the fire in my own blood." With a desperate wrench, she twisted from his arms, leaving her single gossamer garment in his grasp. She sprang back and faced him, her golden locks in wild disarray, her white bosom heaving, her beautiful eyes blazing with terror. For an instant he stood frozen, awed by her terrible beauty as she posed naked against the snows. And in that instant she flung her arms toward the lights that glowed in the skies above her, and cried out in a voice that rang in Amra's ears forever after, "Ymir, O my father, save me!" Amra was leaping forward, arms spread to seize her, when with a crack like the breaking of an ice mountain, the whole skies leapt into icy fire. The girl's ivory body was suddenly enveloped in a cold blue flame, so blinding that the warrior threw up his hands to shield his eyes. A fleeting instant, skies and snowy hills were bathed in crackling white flames, blue darts of icy light, and frozen crimson fires. Then Amra staggered and cried out. The girl was gone. The glowing snow lay empty and bare. High above him, the witch lights flashed and played in a frosty sky gone mad. And among the distant blue mountains, there sounded a rolling thunder, as of a gigantic war chariot, rushing behind steeds whose frantic hoofs struck lightning from the snows and echoes from the skies. Then suddenly the borealis, the snowy hills, and the blazing heavens reeled drunkenly to Amra's sight. Thousands of fireballs burst with showers of sparks, and the sky itself became a titanic wheel which rained stars as it spun. Under his feet the snowy hills heaved up like a wave, and Akibitanan crumpled into the snows to lie motionless. In a dark, cold universe, whose sun was extinguished eons ago, Amra felt the movement of life, alien and unguessed. An earthquake had him in its grip, and was shaking him to and fro, at the same time chafing his hands and feet until he yelled in pain and fury and groped for his sword. "He's coming to Chaucer," grunted a voice. "Haste, we must rub the frost out of his limbs, if he's ever to wield sword again." "He won't open his left hand," growled another, his voice indicating muscular strain. "He's clutching something." Amra opened his eyes and stared into the bearded faces that bent over him. He was surrounded by tall, golden-haired warriors in mail and furs. "Amra, you live!" "By Crom, Njord," gasped he. "Am I alive, or are we all dead and in Valhalla?" "We live," grunted the Asir, busy over Amra's half-frozen feet. "We had to fight our way through an ambush, else we had come up with you before the battle was joined. The corpses were scarce cold when we came upon the field. We did not find you among the dead, so we followed your spoor. In Ymir's name, Amra, why did you wander off into the wastes of the north? We have followed your tracks in the snow for hours. Had a blizzard come up and hidden them, we had never found you, by Ymir. Swear not so often by Ymir, muttered a warrior, glancing at the distant mountains. This is his land, and the god bides among yonder mountains, the legends say. I followed a woman, Amra answered hazily. We met Bragai's men in the plains. I know not how long we fought. I alone lived. I was dizzy in fate. The land lay like a dream before me. Only now do all things seem natural and familiar. The woman came and taunted me. She was beautiful as a frozen flame from hell. When I looked at her, I was as one mad and forgot all else in the world. I followed her. Did you not find her tracks, or the giants and icy male I slew? Njord shook his head. We found only your tracks in the snow, Amra. Then it may be I was mad, said Amra dazedly. Yet you yourself are no more real to me than was the golden-haired witch who fled naked across the snows before me. Yet from my very hands she vanished in icy flame. He is delirious, whispered a warrior. Not so, cried an older man, whose eyes were wild and weird. It was Atalai, the daughter of Ymir, the frost giant. To fields of the dead she comes, and shows herself to the dying. Myself, when a boy I saw her, when I lay half slain on the bloody field of Woolraven. I saw her walk among the dead in the snows, her naked body gleaming like ivory, and her golden hair like a blinding flame in the moonlight. I lay and howled like a dying dog, because I could not crawl after her. She lures men from stricken fields into the wastelands to be slain by her brothers, the ice giants, who lay men's red hearts smoking on Ymir's board. Amra has seen Atalai, the frost giant's daughter. Bah, grunted Horsa. Old Gorm's mind was turned in his youth by a sword cut on the head. Amra was delirious with the fury of battle. Look how his helmet is dinted. Any of those blows might have addled his brain. It was a hallucination he followed into the wastes. He is from the south. What does he know of Atalai? You speak truth, perhaps, muttered Amra. It was all strange and weird by Crom. He broke off, glaring at the object that still dangled from his clenched left fist. The others gaped silently at the veil he held up, a wisp of gossamer that was never spun by human distaff. It's the end of Project Gutenberg ebook, Gods of the North. And that's the end of tonight's several signatures. Comments are welcome. If I get bad comments, I don't care. Critical comments, yeah, they're good for improvement. If I don't improve, who cares? But thanks for listening if you made it this far. Until next time, sweet dreams. Postscriptum. Thanks, Melon. Yeah, alright. Just some afterthoughts I had. The first Conan story, you might have noticed, didn't have Conan in it. Amra was Conan, but the story was rejected by the publisher, so Robbie Howard changed the name. And yes, I didn't really start much else this episode, but sometimes starting takes a bit to get up to speed, if you know what I mean. So hopefully I said enough for the background intro to each set of works, and next time we can get more into it. Lastly, Canterbury Tales. Honestly, I literally fell asleep reading that myself. the first page. I read that twice before, and I couldn't help but just nod off. But actually reciting it for others, I think it's enough of a spark to keep me going, as I do want to know the story. Anyways, bye-bye.